Make sure you subscribe on all platforms and leave that 5-star review. Let's get it.
Hey James, there's some reports out today that suggest that you might not be happy in Brooklyn or with the rotations that are happening. I'm just wondering, if you can speak
reports
to
from who? All right, then.
Bleacher Report.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Instead of speaking to the reports, can you just talk about your experience living in Brooklyn?
What do you mean?
The report suggested that you were unhappy.
Talking about reports. I don't know about reports. Did you guys hear from me?
That's what I'm asking.
All right, so I don't know about the reports.
Do you enjoy New York City?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nah, no guilt. I don't guilt. Don't bring your personal emotions in here. Come on now, puppeteers. To who?
Talk about it.
You are now tuned in to Above the Rim. Hoops talk for the street.
Family, what's good? Welcome back to another edition of Above the Rim. Hoops talk for the streets. You already know how we do. Brought to you as always. It's your host, Justin, aka Just Blaze. Family, you know the drill. To get in contact with me, you can always hit me up and follow me on Twitter at JustBlaze_513. On IG at JustBlaze513. On Facebook, search Above the Rim Podcast. Email the show as well. Above the Rim NBA Podcast at gmail.com. Tap in and lead the family of voicemail. The line is always open, 908-718-1592. Family, cop your merch. Make sure you do that. New colors, new flavors. Appreciate the love and support as always, family. Link is in my bio. It's very easy to find. Support the show. Support the program. Solo episode this week, family. No special guests. Too much to cover this week. Starting with the NBA trade deadline. There was bombs being dropped last week, man. Bombs being dropped. We know where the big trade went down up in Philly. James Harden, Paul Millsap to the Philadelphia 76ers, Andre Drummond, Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, 2 first-round picks coming over here to BK. Wow, blockbuster trade in the NBA, and I'm ready to talk about it, man. Everyone has had an opinion on this trade, and I know y'all been waiting to hear my opinion, so let's get into it, man. But before we get into my opinion, my boy called in, a man Akeem from the Raw and Uncut podcast. Shout out to you, brother. He's a big time Philly fan, big Joel Embiid guy, and my man has some thoughts about the trade, man. So let's get into that before we get into the discussion, family.
Breaking news. James Harden to my Sixers, baby. Let me just tell you, man. I've been saying this for a long time. Sam Hinkie with the tanking. We got Ben Simmons. We got the guy that we just traded for one of the top 10 players in the past 20 years. James Harden. We're going to the ship. And this is what I'm saying. We lost Drummond. That's going to hurt us a little bit. That's going to hurt us a little bit. But what I will say to you is with this pick and roll with Embiid and Harden and the buckets that we about to get with a great coach, let's not forget, if we played the Nets in the finals, not in the finals, but in the Eastern Conference Finals, if we played them, it will come down to coaching. Because everything else is a wash. They got 2 super. Ben Simmons is not. We're not afraid of Ben Simmons. We're not afraid. And I'm gonna tell you right now, the ship, championship, Philly, baby.
My bad. Akeem, shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you for calling in the family. Make sure y'all calling in and leaving those voicemails as well. 908-718-1592. Make sure you call in and talk your shit. And as you can see, my man Ak is hype right now. He's hype about this deal. And I'm not mad at him. If you're a Philly fan, I would be hyped too if I just said James Harden coming on to the squad. If you're a Nets fan, gotta be hype about that as well. Listen, it's still a good trade for both sides. And first off, both teams won the deal. I'm gonna be honest. Both teams won the deal. The 76ers finally got their perimeter scorer to pair with Joel Embiid. They've coveted for years. Like many of us thought, they had to move Ben Simmons in order to get that guy. And they did that. Daryl Morey got his guy. Harden was eventually going to make his way to Philly. And he's done that, man. The Brooklyn Nets, they also came out well in this deal. getting pieces for the short and for the long term, which also helps balance their lineup out as well. You actually, in my opinion, you won't really know who fully won this deal until the offseason. Until the end of the season, until we see which team goes a little bit further. And there's multiple aspects of this deal that you can break down. There's so many ways, but let's start off a little bit here from a couple of angles. Let's start off on the Harden aspect, man. I can't front. Before we talk about the on-court basketball fit of James Harden, I can't front. I'm a little bit disappointed in how he's handled himself professionally in these last couple of seasons. Asking out of 2 teams in 2 years, doing it passive aggressively, is never the move to make, in my opinion, man. Now, I was one of those people who wasn't very surprised when we started hearing the rumors. We started hearing the rumblings that James Harden wanted out of Brooklyn. If you remember on my last episode, I had Reem on there, had Damo on there, and I talked about it. I said James Harden to the Brooklyn Nets was always a temporary union. And I stand by that. And as you can see, it was temporary. He came here last year. He was here in a year and a half. Came here last year. Axed out of Houston, as we know. He wanted out of there. He got his wish, came to Brooklyn. I said before that it was a little bit of a call with KD and saying, listen, we can move some pieces to get you here. Let's try it out. Let's see how far we go in the next 2 years. When your contract is almost up, then you see what type of decision you're going to make. Now, with that being said, the part about it that I didn't like of how Harden handled himself is that I didn't like how he axed out mid-season. It's the mid-season part that bothers me. Now, it's okay if you want to switch teams. It's okay if you want to go to another team in the conference. It's okay if you want to go to another organization that you're more comfortable with, another GM that you're more comfortable with. But the mid-season part is what bothers me right now. No, I know maybe there are things behind the scenes that we don't know. Maybe this was a deal that had to be done mid-season or else other things would have been happening. A little bit of collusion, a little bit of tampering. Maybe some other teams were going to be a little bit upset about how Daryl Morey acquired James Harden if it waited until the offseason. So I guess the two sides felt like they had to do it now. I guess James Harden felt like he had to go to Philly now mid-season. A lot of things going on with the Brooklyn Nets right now. A lot of media stuff going on over there with Kyrie, with KD being out. They're on a 10-game losing streak. And it's a lot of stuff going on right now. But the mid-season part is a part that bothers me a little bit. While your best player's out, while KD is out, the media is coming down on the Brooklyn Nets right now. This, to me, was the time where he should have stepped up as a leader for the Brooklyn Nets and rallied those troops together in the face of adversity. But instead, he chose the other route. Wanted to be out, wanted to bounce, a little bit of quit in him. Not gonna front, it was a little bit of quit in there. But hey, man, if this is the decision that makes that man happy, you go ahead and that's what you got to do, man. But hey, now as far as the basketball fit goes with the Philadelphia 76ers, I like it. He gonna fit in nicely with those boys, no doubt about it. And there's a couple of ways that you can look at the fit. The 76ers right now, they're already rolling with Embiid, playing some of the best basketball of his career. Is Harden going to step into this lineup and become a piece or the piece of this Philadelphia 76ers lineup? Now, that depends on which version of Harden you're going to get this season. Now, it could be a variation of Apex Rockets James Harden, where he was averaging an unprecedented over 23 combined three-point attempts and free throw attempts per game throughout the season, which that was ultra aggressive Harden. He was averaging 12 three-point attempts, or 10 or 12 three-point attempts, over 10 free throws a night. That's aggressive Harden. Or are you going to get this Harden, the Nets version of James Harden? A little passive at times, more of a facilitator than a scorer, not as engaged every play, especially when you don't have the ball, shooting a career-low three-point percentage, and just looking a little bit slower as a whole in these couple of years here with Brooklyn. And when you look at how the 76ers are running the offense, they're moving the ball, they're surrounding their surrounding pieces around Embiid know their spots. They give Embiid ample room to work, ample room in the low post, in the mid post, the high post. And they play excellent defense as well as a unit. They're top 10 in the NBA defense. So now we need to see if Harden's going to be committed on that end. In Brooklyn, sometimes he was committed, sometimes he wasn't. And this team has all the pieces to contend for a title right now. But the fit with Embiid is also a tricky one as well, if you want to look at look at it from that aspect. When you look at James Harden, mostly, he prefers aerial assault, rim rollers in the pick and roll. Your Clint Capella types, guys like that, Nicholas Claxton, those guys. Embiid isn't that. When you look at how Embiid has played his game, he's more of a pick and pop, pick and short roll type of big. So Harden's going to have to adapt to that, adapt his offense, adapt the way he runs his pick and rolls to that. And that also will be the key. Can he adapt? How quickly can he adapt? I'm sure it wouldn't be that much of an adjustment, but they got to find a happy medium. Pick and rolls, pick and pops, to see which player is more comfortable doing the same. And like I said before, how Harden adapts to that style of play will be the key for him. Now, before I move on to the Brooklyn side of things, if they have an ugly exit in the playoffs, the Philadelphia 76ers, how long before they blame Doc Rivers? That's also an aspect of this, the coaching aspect of this. Now, listen, if they have a flame out in the playoffs, they have an ugly exit, because it happens depending on who they playing. The East is a bloodbath, as we know in the playoffs. It's going to be crazy this season. Are they going to blame Doc Rivers for that? Are they going to hold James Harden accountable? Are they going to hold Embiid accountable? Who are they going to hold accountable if they don't win a championship this season? Because making this move is championship or bust, clearly. So championship or bust starts from day one. So if they don't win a title in year one, there are going to be some questions. There are going to be some rumblings. You're going to hear a couple of things. So who takes the fall for that? If they don't win, we'll see. I think it's a valid and a legitimate question, but we'll see how the Philadelphia 76ers adapt to this. And James Harden is a guy who changes your entire offense around. He's a guy, has the ball in his hands a lot. He's a guy you're going to cater your offense to. Joel Embiid right now, he's number one leading scorer in the league. If he finishes the season right now as the number one leading scorer in the league, he'll be the first person to do that since Shaq in the year 2000. The first center to lead the league in scoring, to win the scoring title since Shaq in 2000. So that's a big deal. Embiid is right now, he's on a roll. You got to keep that fire moving, and you got to keep that train rolling. So we're going to see how they adjust. We're going to see how James Harden adapts. And it's going to be nice, man. It's going to be nice to see. It's going to be nice to see, man. And on a lighter note, too, Harden got the perfect bid for Philly. If we keeping it funky right now, let's talk about that. The perfect bid, he's going to fit right into Philly right now. Philly cheesesteak, it's going to be a wrap. It's going to be a wrap. Harden is going to have a nice time at Philly. And we're going to see this is the place that he wanted to be. He clearly didn't look totally comfortable in this Brooklyn lineup with these Nets. So we're going to see maybe he's more comfortable there. And we're going to see how he works with Maxey as well. Losing Drummond is a very interesting aspect of this deal for the 76ers, because they're going to have a tough time with that backup center position. This is the first time since Embiid has been there that they have had a suitable backup, that they've had a backup center that they trust. They had Nerlens Noel a couple years ago, but Drummond has been excellent in that role. There's been no drop-off when Embiid goes to the bench or when Embiid sits out. So they're going to have to replace Drummond. And Drummond, on the other end, he helps the Brooklyn Nets. Now, let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets side of this trade. I think they came out excellent in this trade, in my opinion. They got everything you need in a trade. They got a unique young talent in Ben Simmons. They got an interior presence in Big Boy Drummond. They got another elite shooter in Seth Curry. And they got picks for the future that they can package with any one of those guys going forward if they're not happy with the performance. So when you look at how the Brooklyn Nets came out in this deal, it's really good. I love what the Nets got in return for a guy who was going to leave anyway. Let's be real about it. James Harden, he was going to leave this summer anyway. He was already ramping up to leave the Brooklyn Nets. So to me, I think it was a win-win for both teams. Now, when we talk about the Brooklyn aspect of the deal, Ben Simmons, the spotlight is on you, my boy. Are you ready for the heat that's about to come at NYC? I hope you're ready, because you asked for it. And I think you're ready to handle it. Listen, this is going to be a comeback. Yeah, a comeback, next 20, 30 games of the season is going to be a comeback time for you. And I'm one of those dudes who give the benefit of the doubt to players when they're in a new situation. I assume that they're going to play well. I assume that they're going to have a renewed confidence, a renewed energy about them. And we're going to see. Ben Simmons, is going to be time for you to show and prove out here in Brooklyn. And I think it's going to work out well for you if you just play your role, really. The Brooklyn Nets don't need you to be everything. Now, what you bring to the table is actually what the Brooklyn Nets need. You fit right in. Interchangeable, versatile forward. You can play defense, you can rebound, and you can facilitate. That's what the Brooklyn Nets need right now. They have two of the most unique guys over 6'10" in the NBA that the NBA has ever seen, actually, with KD and with Ben Simmons. Now, if this was me coaching, when everybody gets back, I'm throwing Ben out at the 5. I'm throwing the 5 or the 4 exclusively. I'm telling you right, no more point guard anything I want to see for Ben Simmons for the rest of the year. No more point guard. Now, you can still facilitate. You can still facilitate every other possession. Plenty of opportunities to do so. But never again do I want to see you line up at that point guard spot. Me, I'll have Ben at the 5 or the 4. Start him at the 5. You could do Ben, KD, Brown, Seth, Kyrie. When Joe Harris comes back, you can slot him in. If you want to keep Brown in there for defense, you can do that as well. But Ben playing the 5 for me and facilitating from that mid post, from that high post area, I think it's going to be excellent for the Brooklyn Nets. And I think that's how you're going to get the most out of Ben Simmons that you need, because he's going to find out. He's going to have to find out how to work with KD, because he has never played with a player like that. And with KD, Kevin Durant, one of the best scorers the league has ever seen, operating out of the mid post, isolating, and then you got Kyrie on the wing, on the perimeter. He can get to the basket at any time. Top 5 layup package of all time. Top 5 handles of all time. Ben Simmons, this is the team where you're gonna have to get out the way. I'm gonna need you to step out of the way. You don't have to handle the ball as much. You don't have to facilitate as much. Focus on defense. Focus on rebounding. Focus on how you can maximize the strengths of KD and Kyrie on that end of the floor. And I think it's going to work out well for them, man. Listen, I like the fit. You're going to add Drummond in there too, another big boy who could get you 10 to 15 to 20 rebounds a night. That's what the Nets have been missing next to KD, a big body in there. He can help out Claxton. He can help out LaMarcus Aldridge. I think Drummond is going to fit in nice over here in Brooklyn. I think he's going to, even though he may not start, he may or may not, who knows. I will personally bring him off the bench, but he can still be very effective in limited minutes. So Andre Drummond, I think he's going to have an excellent time here in Brooklyn as well. And Seth Curry. Not enough can be said about having another elite shooter. You look at that backcourt: Seth Curry, Patty Mills, Kyrie Irving, Joe Harris. They got some shooters out here in Brooklyn. Listen, you could throw out, how I would do the lineup is start Ben Simmons at the 5, bring him out early, and then bring him back at mid-court at the end of the first quarter to play with the second unit and play with those shooters. Play with a Patty Mills. Play with a Joe Harris. Play with a Blake Griffin. Play with a, who else? A Seth Curry. A lot of those guys. So I think that's where Ben Simmons is going to be most effective, where you have a guy like that going against opposing team's second unit. So the Brooklyn Nets have a great opportunity to be very versatile. They have an opportunity to throw so many different lineups out. Now, the key is going to be coaching. Can Steve Nash learn different lineup combos? Can Steve Nash be that master motivator that you need in the playoffs in tight moments? We're going to see how that works. So I know a lot of people are making a big stink about Kyrie being part-time, but we don't know how that's going to turn out. That could change at any moment. Even without him, even if he misses those home games, Ben Simmons can step into that role and do a little bit more. You can ask, he's an all-NBA type of talent. He's an all-defensive type of player. He can be very interchangeable in pieces. So I think you're going to see a renewed Ben Simmons, a more aggressive Ben Simmons, a Ben Simmons that may try to prove a lot of people wrong. So I think the Brooklyn Nets are gonna come out well in this trade. And like I said, both teams are going to come out well in this trade. Now, I tell you right now, what would be delicious is if we get a playoff series of the Nets and 76ers. Now, that's going to be delicious. I don't care what round it is. First round, second round, conference finals. I don't care what it is. It's going to be delicious. And it's going to be must-see TV. So let's hope for that. The streets, we need to ask for that. Hopefully that'll happen. The basketball gods will give us that. We'll see how that rocks, man. So I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions on this trade. Call in, man. Let me know. 908-718-1592, man. Let me know how you think this trade is going to end up. James Harden now, they said he's going to miss the All-Star game. He's not going to be back until after the All-Star break. We'll see what happens when Ben Simmons finally debuts for the Brooklyn Nets. They're calling him Ben 10 now. I'm not mad at that. We'll see how that nickname works out. But it's going to be interesting, man. So definitely let me know, family, your thoughts on this trade. And NBA in the East got sticky. I tell you that right now. Let's talk about some other trades that we got to get into that went down at the deadline, man. The Pacers and the Kings, they did a major swap. Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, TTK, Tristan Thompson for Sabonis, Holiday, and Lamb. Listen, man, I know a lot of people, especially Twitter, they were upset that the Kings traded Halliburton. And I agree with you. It was very, very risky to trade a Tyrese Halliburton. But let's be real. Sabonis, he's an all-star, man. He was an all-star in the East, and he could potentially be an all-star in the West. He's a quality big. Let's not act like Sabonis is no slouch. Halliburton is a big loss. I totally understand that. But I think Halliburton, he was just collateral damage for the Kings because they had to move off of that Buddy Hield deal. They wanted to move off that Buddy Hield contract so bad. And I think in the long term, it actually works out well for both teams. I actually really like the pairing with Sabonis, with Fox over there. They have a nice little nucleus building block out there in Sacramento that they need to see what they have moving forward. And they need to see what they can do building around that pairing. Now on the Pacers side, I love what they're doing as well. Nice young core, nice young pieces. They got Jalen Smith from the Suns, Buddy Hield over there, like I said before now. They got a bunch of pieces. Halliburton is there to get the keys to that offense. They got a couple of pieces. Brissett over there as well. Duarte over there. They have a couple of pieces out there in Indiana. We're going to see how they move forward with their young pieces. And I really like what they're doing over there, especially with Rick Carlisle at the helm. It's going to be interesting. They got my man Lance over there, air guitar. Hopefully they keep him over there. Sykes as well. So we're going to see how the Pacers really move forward with that young core. Other deals, the Bucks picking up Serge Ibaka. I like this move for the Bucks, family. I like it for sure. They needed a big with Brook Lopez out. They needed another big down there. Listen, all the African players are in the East, so they needed all the strength that they could get, the Milwaukee Bucks, and they added another one in Serge Ibaka. Listen, all the players. Toronto got a few. Embiid, Siakam. Who else? There's a couple of guys in there. The Heat, Bam, Victor Oladipo. There's a couple of guys in the East. So I really like that fit with Ibaka going over there to the Bucks. He's really going to help them, and he's another big that can stretch the floor and play inside with Giannis. That's going to be nice for them. The Blazers started clearing the deck, finally breaking up the Dame and CJ backcourt pairing. The Pelicans traded for CJ and Larry Nance, for Josh Hart, Walker, and some pieces. For the Pelicans side, I like this deal. I like CJ. He can go over there. He can help the youth. He's a career 20 points per game scorer. He can help the youth in Ingram and Zion really try to get on the right track and really establish a culture over there in New Orleans because they don't really have a team culture. They definitely don't have a culture of winning. And they're looking for ways that they can keep Zion. Now, we know who's going to be coming after him strong. We know the Knicks are going to be coming after him. We know they're going to be offering up Julius Randle so they could get that Duke pairing going over here in New York City. But we'll see. TJ is there to help Willie Green out there on the coaching side. And they need to establish a culture over there, like I said. So having the president of the NBPA over there and CJ McCollum is going to work out well for them. And you never know. CJ could be the Jimmy Butler to the Heat. There's CP3 to the Suns. He could be that vet that they can use that takes them maybe not over the top, but really puts them in the right track and gets into a winning mentality. So I like it over there for the Pelicans. CJ's a good pickup. But what happens with Dame now on the Blazers side? Seriously, this season, clearly a wash. Lottery bound. They're going to have, I think, over $20 million in cap space this summer. Now, was a free agent coming to Portland? I don't know. That's going to be interesting. This summer, it's recruit or bust for Damian Lillard. He's going to have to go out there recruiting NBA stars everywhere. All of his boys. I don't know. There's no Team USA, but he's going to have to get on that phone, get on the horn, call any star that may be available, any star that may be disgruntled, and see if he can get them over there in Portland because you can't have a wasteful season next year, Damian Lillard. This season right now was a waste of Damian Lillard right now. So we're going to see. I like the pairing with him and Chauncey. We're going to see because the Blazers, they have some decisions that they have to make this summer, especially or else Dame is going to axe out. Now, you know, people have been pushing Dame to ask out for years now. So we'll see. This is going to be, I would say, maybe the most important summer in Blazers franchise history. If not the most important, got to be top 3 for sure. But it may be, man, how they handle the Damian Lillard situation this summer, keeping him happy, keeping him involved in player personnel decisions is really going to dictate what happens going forward. So we'll see. The Blazers are definitely a team to watch going into the free agency this summer. Celtics, I want to talk about them a little bit. They brought in Derek White, brought in Danielle Tice, let go of Josh Richardson, Enos, Dennis Schroeder. I don't know how I feel about this trade. I'm going to be a little honest with you, family. I'm not really a fan of letting go of my man Dennis Schroeder. Now, I'm a big fan of Dennis Schroeder, DS. I thought he would be able to help you the most in the playoffs with another guard that can really create off the dribble, another guard that can score, another guy who can create off the dribble when the offense gets a little bit stagnant, another player who can facilitate from time to time. And what they traded those guys for, they didn't really get back another player who can do those kind of things. Now, Derek White, he's cool, can't create much off the dribble. Teams don't really fear him like that. He's an excellent defender, solid shooter. Nobody fears a Derek White in the playoffs, but he can certainly help. Now, the Celtics, they're playing excellent right now. They're focusing on their defense, their top 3 defense in the league this season. They're winners of 8 straight. But I'm a little worried about their point guard rotation right now, because right now they're relying on Marcus Smart to be the full-time point guard. And then backing him up, it's only Peyton Pritchard backing him up at the point guard position. That's not really a solid crop. Now, are they going to dig in the bag and maybe call up IT? Are we going to get an IT2 sighting in Boston? Listen, I wouldn't be mad at that, but who knows? But I think they need to acquire another point guard if they're going to make a little playoff run right here, because Smart I like, but to rely on him as a full-time creator when his job is for defense, he's going to be occupied on the defensive end. So I don't want him being my primary facilitator. And now that means you're going to have a lot more of the ball in JT's hands, a lot more of the ball in Jaylen Brown's hands. And as we saw early in the year, the team wasn't that really crazy about that. You had Marcus Smart was talking shit early in the year, saying they were ball hogging. So the Celtics are very risky trading Schroeder. I mean, I guess he didn't fit in well with the chemistry. It didn't really look like that to me, but maybe there was something going on behind the scenes. I'm not sure, but they didn't solidify that point guard spot. They should have did that at the trade line, and they did it, and they didn't. Derek White, we'll see how he goes moving forward. They're going to be interesting, man. So we're going to see how they rock out. Another team that I got to talk about. Listen, I'm rubbing my hands Birdman style for this, because the Phoenix Suns, I got to talk about my boys right here, man. They acquired Torrey Craig, Aaron Holiday for Jalen Smith, sticks, and a pick. Listen, I just love what the Suns did at the deadline, even though I'm a little bit disappointed at the same time. In my perfect world, they would have acquired Eric Gordon instead of Torrey Craig this deadline. But T. Craig is what they needed as well. They needed a versatile 3-4 combo forward with size that can defend, that can shoot the three. Torrey Craig knows the system very well. He was on the squad last year for the playoff run. I wanted the Suns to acquire another perimeter shot creator. But they're going to have to pray that CP in the book doesn't get injured in the playoffs, because they need another guard. They have Cameron Payne, that's cool. Elvin Payton, of course, as well. His minutes will be spotty in the playoffs, but I needed that, maybe not elite, but, 15 to 18 points per game scorer off their bench that they can really rely on, because I've been a little bit disappointed in Shamet, but maybe he can step up. He's coming back from his ankle injuries soon this season, I think after the All-Star break. But listen, I'm still not mad at this lineup. 2 or 3 deep at every position. The Suns have been rolling this season, banking on continuity. Best team in the league all year. And they've been disrespected constantly by the national media. No national media attention giving my boys any love. But that's why this show is here, to give the real cats some credit. Son, shout out to you for having an excellent season. I enjoy watching this team play so much. They're the epitome of a team to me. Exceptional head coach. Everyone on the team on the same page, playing together for a purpose. They maximize every single player's skill set on the team. And if I had to use one word to describe the Phoenix Suns, it's execution. This team executes on all levels, on both sides of the ball. Listen, man, once they execute the game plan, it's going to be really tough to beat this team. So I'm very happy at what they did in the deadline. T. Craig is definitely another player that they need. My man, Lord Biyombo's giving quality minutes since they picked him up. Another great, not even a deadline buyout. I mean, he was sitting in the crib when they called him up, Biyombo. So that's a big deal. Shout out to Suns for that. And also, I got to give my man CP3 some MVP love, man. Listen, he's not getting any type of love right now for MVP. Listen, if you don't have him at least in your top 3, shame on you right now. It's always impact over stats for me. And the stats are not bad for you stat watchers out there. He's still averaging a double-double, 15 and 10. He's leading the league in assists. Leads all guards in double-doubles this season. Come on, man. You gotta give him some credit, man. Best pass in the league. Number one team in the NBA. Him and Book are really have been come together as a fully well-oiled machine, this unit. And the Suns have been playing excellent, man. So you gotta give him some love. MVP love for Chris Paul. That's what I'm talking about, man. If you have him above 3, stop the hate. Stop the hate. Some more deadline deals. The Wizards and Mavs made a deal as well. This deal was a little bit confusing to me. Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans for Kristaps Porzingis going over there to DC in the nation's capital. That's an interesting deal, man. I'm not gonna lie. I thought the Mavs would be looking for another type of wing forward. I knew they were already looking for another point guard, but to me, maybe they feel like they're not going to be able to keep Brunson in the offseason. So maybe I don't know if they're looking at Dinwiddie as a short or long-term solution. But he should work out well for the Mavs. I guess, yeah, I mean, this is an injury. Like, I don't really know how it's going to work. You know, Bertans can actually play better next to Luka. He wasn't getting enough minutes in DC, so he might play well with the Mavs next to Luka. KP in DC? How's that going to work out? I have no clue. It could be good. It could be bad as both. Now, he fits in with their bigs, with a Gafford next to him, with a Thomas Bryant next to him, with Hachimura coming off the bench. It could work out well next year with Beal coming back since he shut down for the season. He quit on the season. It's going to be interesting for the Wizards to see how KP fits there. Excuse me. And I'm not necessarily sure how that's going to work out. I don't know if they're viewing KP as a long-term piece or a short-term piece. We're going to see how that actually works out. And that being said, man, the East is a bloodbath. If you see how many competitive teams that the East has, the playoffs is going to be absolutely ridiculous this season. One through 8, the Brooklyn Nets are in 8th place right now. You know they're not going to stay there. Hey, you know they're going to start moving up in the stands once they get everybody back. So who's moving out? Who's going in? Who's going to be in the plane? The plane is going to be crazy. You know, basically 1 through 8 is going to be separated by probably 4 games tops, 3 or 4 games tops. It's going to be crazy in the Eastern Conference, man. And we're going to see how that Eastern Conference really, really shakes up, man. Because it's going to be really interesting. And the trade deadline, you know, right now we're going into the stretch run of the season. And it's going to be crazy, man. We'll see how that rocks out. Before we get on out of here, man, I was doing some research. I was trying to look at my top 5 backcourts in the NBA this season. Now, with the James Harden trade going down, breaking up that backcourt of Kyrie and James Harden, with the Blazers backcourt being broken up now, no more Dame and CJ. It's interesting now. Now it's really a toss-up between the top 5 backcourts in the NBA. And I was going through my list and I had to make some decisions. I'm not gonna lie. So definitely the family, I want y'all to give me your top 5 backcourts. But start with me. I'm gonna run down my top 5 backcourts in the NBA right now. And it definitely was a tough choice for me. But at number 5, I'm gonna have to go with the new backcourt in Philly. James Harden, Tyrese Maxey. They're going in that number 5 for me. I gotta see how this backcourt works out. But for me, I'm projecting him to be a top 5 backcourt. I actually really like the pairing between Harden, between Maxey. Maxey's really coming into his own this season, averaging 16. It's going to be nice for them for number 4. I'm going with Lonzo Ball and Zach LaVine for my top 4 backup. Listen, I love the offensive-defensive pairing. When both are healthy, the Bulls, you see how they're rocking out this year. Number 3, Ja Morant and Desmond Bane over there in Memphis. The fellas out there in Memphis, those boys are hungry. Those boys are ready. Listen, I'm taking that backcourt against a lot of backcourts in the league right now. Number 2, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson. Gotta go with them at number 2, man. Listen, they're not reigning champions, of course. Klay is getting back into the fold. He looked really good against the Lakers the other night. He's starting to get back into his groove. Playoff time, they're going to be ready. They're going to be wreaking havoc on the NBA. And the top backcourt in the NBA for me, got to be CP3 and Devin Booker, the reigning Western Conference champions, number 1 team in the league right now, the best backcourt in the league right now. Listen, these boys are ready and they're hungry. And the top, listen, you could go any way. You can switch up that 1-2 top 5 backcourts in the NBA, but it's it's definitely a choice. And I'm not mad at you for putting any one of those guys. Now, the honorable mentions that I had for the top 5 backcourts, you could go Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown. You could go LaMelo and Terry Rozier. You could go Conley, Donovan Mitchell. You could go Luka, Brunson, Lowry, Duncan Robinson, Van Vliet, Gary Trent. Who knows? You could go a lot of different ways in that number 4 or 5 spot, in that or 5 spot in the backcourts in the NBA. So it's going to be really interesting. And family, call in. Let me know. Let me know on Twitter which your top 5 backcourts, because I had some, a tough time really deciding on who I'm going to put at the end of that. So family, definitely call in. Let me know. And this deadline is crazy. We're getting into the stretch run of the season. All-Star break is coming up. Gonna be a nice All-Star break there. I'm gonna have a couple more guests coming in soon. We gotta discuss some new teams. I gotta discuss the Knicks soon, the Bulls, a couple of teams, the Suns again soon. This in the East is gonna be crazy. The West as well. And family, like I always say, I appreciate y'all. Keep it locked each and every week. Appreciate y'all as always for listening to the show. Topics, questions, comments. You want to scream at me? Call in the line 908-718-1592. This is episode 173. We out.